At the beginning of COVID-19 stay-at-home orders, my family reunited from across 3 cities, and pretty early on, we ended up having a pretty emotional conversation. As we talked about the worst-case scenarios with the virus, we talked about part of my family's story that made the idea of not being together if one of us got sick quite gut-wrenching. As our tears and tissues hit the floor, we kept our distance, afraid to get too close. Because we were all arriving home from different locations, we tried to keep physical distance from each other for the first 2 weeks until we felt safer. So during this emotional conversation, all we had to comfort each other were toe touches. We hit this imaginary obstacle, unable to really embrace each other, and felt confined to our own individual worlds and spaces. Afterwards, we found another obstacle to connection, as real life demanded that we stay engaged and plugged in, stay on top of our obligations. We all went our separate ways, to our different responsibilities, siloing into our own respective worlds and losing access to each other. We put in earbuds and hid inside couch pillow forts. We sat up straighter, putting up walls of professionalism while we worked. So we had to find ways to break through the cracks, to lift each other's spirits. We had to think about how to reframe our new normal at home. Instead of seeing the difficulties of being squished together, we needed to ask the question of ourselves, what is possible now during this time that wasn't before? During normal times, I don't have access to my sister's workplace self. Now I get to joke around with her while she emails her boss, making her laugh right before logging into a Zoom call. During normal times, my family doesn't get to hear me joke around and talk with my college friends. And while my younger sister might normally practice lessons with her peers in the classroom, I now get a front row seat to her creative homework assignments in the kitchen. Her school assignments didn't end here, though. She goes to school on a farm, and animals can't be fed over Zoom. They still need the students to be there twice a day. The school figured out a sign-up rotation to make sure they were all appropriately taken care of, and I started thinking about how we humans aren't all that different from these animals. For many things, we sit waiting, completely dependent on the systems and workers that keep life in motion. The sheep wait patiently inside their pasture, eager to be fed their clover treats, while we stay inside our homes, waiting dependently on UPS to deliver our package. Dependence and vulnerability go hand in hand, and the actions that we're called to take in the midst of this pandemic are aimed at reducing our physical vulnerability. We stay cooped up inside to keep each other safe. We wear face masks or get creative to find something else that works. The goal here is to avoid making ourselves physically vulnerable. But what if we embraced emotional vulnerability head-on and saw it not as a threat but an opportunity? At home, after a couple weeks, we began to feel more comfortable being in close proximity to each other without worrying about one of us carrying the virus. We began to soften, worry a bit less, and as we began to feel less physically vulnerable inside our home, we were learning that relational vulnerability is actually what we need to make it through. And there's beauty in this. We actually had more access to each other's lives, overhearing what was going on each day, what we were thinking about. We learned to lean on each other for little tasks, each of us providing whatever we had to bring to the table. The walls of professionalism came down, and we had the chance to meet each other where we were. In the end, dependence is what we rest in, what we came home to.